About 10 years ago, I felt a deep call in my heart to go to India. And I went to a place in the foothills of the Himalaya, which is renowned for yoga and spirituality. Many yogis have spent a lot of time in that place, meditating in caves, and so it has a very special energy. And while I was there, I experienced what one would refer to as spiritual awakening, whereby there was an inquiry into the nature of me, and a real deep looking into the question, who am I? When the word I is spoken, who or what is it that's referred to? What was seen very clearly is that I am not my name, I am not my beliefs, my preferences, my thoughts, not even the body, not emotions. What I am is an awareness, an ever-present awareness which witnesses constantly, and a witness that never changes and never moves, is always here. And there was an instant in which the conceptual self collapsed or fell away, like a curtain being pulled to reveal the light shining through. And this light was recognized as me, who I am and who everyone and everything else is. So the sense of separation fell away in that moment, and there was a direct experience, a knowing that there's only actually one consciousness. All is me and I am all. In the moment of awakening, there was a sense of clarity, a clarity and an understanding of something that had never been previously understood. And that clarity and understanding brought with it a deep sense of peace. And the 2 weeks following that, the external reality seemed to take on a dreamlike quality. It felt like walking around in an ethereal dream. And shortly after, there were profound experiences of intense bliss and gratitude, where tears were just streaming, and a sense of communion with what I would refer to as the divine. And that brought a feeling of openness and joy in the heart. What awakening means is that one recognizes one's true nature beyond the conceptual self, beyond the self-image, beyond the identification with the physical body and the experiences of the physical body, and one opens to a higher consciousness, which is actually the essence of all human beings and all life. The term the mind is used differently depending on the tradition or the cultural context within which it's spoken. When I speak about the mind, what I refer to is a conceptual self, which is a self-image, which is formed at a young age and builds up over time. And most people believe themselves to be this self-image, and they live life in a way where there's a constant interest in enhancing the self-image and defending the self-image. The ego is an aspect of the mind which forms at a young age, and it's that aspect which gives us a sense of I am an individual me, and it's actually a healthy stage of our development. So when a child starts to recognize that the name that people are referring to me as, Louise, that's referring to me. I am this separate, unique individual. And with that comes the understanding that some things are mine, me and mine. This is the sense of self that develops with the ego. So the child forms attachments to objects and toys. That toy is mine, it belongs to me. And if the toy is taken away, the child experiences an upset because there's an attachment that's tied in to this mental understanding that the object belongs to me. Now, in a healthy society, as we mature, then there would be a natural transitioning beyond the identification with this conceptual me, where things are mine, and a recognition that, yes, that is a temporary, limited expression, but it's not ultimately who I am. Ultimately who I am is that which is deeper, this underlying presence that's always here. And we would outgrow that stage of identification with the egoic self. However, most people remain identified with the egoic self, and that causes them suffering in their life. When one transcends that and there's no longer identification with it, one opens up to a deep inner peace, a deep inner stillness. And that brings a sense of freedom and a natural sense of joy and happiness, which is our natural state. Prior to this awakening experience, if you'd asked me, are you happy? I probably would have said yes, and I believed that I was happy. However, there was a deeper sense of lack, a feeling that something was missing, and it was almost like the happiness was on top of an underlying emptiness. That feeling of emptiness grew and began to form itself into questions such as, what is the meaning of life? Why am I here? What is the purpose of all this? What am I doing? What will happen after I die? And this was like a nagging feeling which ignited a search to understand the deeper meaning of life, to know something that was intuitively felt. There was an intuitive sense that there was something more than the superficiality of life that was experienced. And during those times there were moments of intense suffering, a feeling of deep dissatisfaction with life. It's clear that that suffering was a catalyst for the awakening. There was an underlying sense of incompleteness, dissatisfaction with life, and living life in survival mode, just going through the motions. And there were moments where what I understand now as the pain body, where that would be triggered and activated and take over, and there would be total identification with it, which would cause suffering and a sense of depression, a feeling of, I don't want this life, this isn't fun, I'm not happy, and that would be accompanied by negative thought patterns. And it felt like being locked in an internal maze with no way out. But at the time, it wasn't understood. I didn't understand what was happening, so I had no way out. The only thing that I could follow was the yearning in the heart to understand the deeper meaning of life. And that was a force that cannot be described. It feels like it was a driving force that didn't come from me, that came from something greater. If you ask me where am I right now, the answer could be determined on two different levels. The level of the absolute, whereby I refers to me, the true self-consciousness. I am here, I am locationless, I am without form, I'm formless, invisible, boundless. I'm here, I am everywhere, I am nowhere. This is something that cannot be understood by the intellectual mind, because this understanding lies outside of the capacity of the mind. And as on the level of the relative, the I refers to this temporary form, this expression, this unique expression, which is referred to as Louise. And Louise is here. The two are not separate from each other. The difference between pre and post awakening Louise is so radical that I don't think anyone who didn't witness it with their own eyes would really be able to comprehend it. It changed everything. With the awakening process came a process of maturing, a falling away of unconscious beliefs and patternings, integration of unprocessed emotions and traumas held in the physical and energetic bodies, and this created space to allow for a more authentic expression of me to flow through this form.